StrengthsFinder is a great team builder, especially if you use our Rock Your Talents and you're doing experiential activities, having a great time, and learning something about each other and how to unleash your potential at the same time. Sounds like a great deal. The thing, though, that I think is really important is that that's not all, is that it's not just a one-time event. One way I like to carry this forward is always recommending a session with leaders, anyone who's a people manager, after that initial session. Because it is like finding a key to a secret passageway to unlock potential on the team and unlock their talent. If you keep this conversation going, and if you start to understand your top talents, your lesser talents, your bottom talents, and see where you might be a great complement to people on your team, where you might be rubbing each other the wrong way, and you start to get insights you really hadn't considered before and opening doors to conversations that just weren't happening in the past. And the real business results that come from this are pretty clear as well. In Gallup research, employees who decide to focus on strengths themselves, 7.8% improvement in productivity. So that's pretty cool. That's just employees focusing on their own. I'm going to focus on my strengths every day at work. Now, when teams, intact work groups, decide to focus on building a strengths-based culture together, that number shoots up to as high as 21%. And these are real business metrics. I'm talking about things like revenue per salesperson or revenue per employee. So real productivity numbers that you care about in your business by taking a keen focus on strengths. It makes me think of this example that I just experienced recently with a team where they had done StrengthsFinder, they had done the baseline, and they knew the top 5 and they knew each other's basic talents. It wasn't until we started going deeper as a team, though, that the hard-hitting impact started unraveling and unveiling itself. So in one example, I have a manager and she leads with positivity and woo and futuristic and significance. So she's a high influencer, she's a social variety person, and she's really always looking forward for the next change. So when a big organizational change happens, she's thinking, yeah, let's do it, let's go. And she was always trying to get the team excited and enrolled in it. So she has this team member who is about the opposite. So once we did the full profile where you unlock the stack rank order, we saw that her top, the managers, were almost the inverse of this team member. So this team member leads through intellection, analytical, deliberative. So when these big organizational changes were happening, instead of the team member thinking, yeah, let's do it, she was thinking, maybe, but let's go find the truth. Let's analyze the data and it will tell us how to make the decision, and let's think about this carefully. And it wasn't until having that insight that they started to understand this rub that they were having with each other and the natural way they approached the world. So the manager was always yearning for the next big thing to make a business impact, whereas her team member was always yearning for like just a minute so that I can assess the risk and think about this deeply so that we don't have so much rework in the company. Now, neither of those approaches is bad. One is not better than the other. They are different. And so it was the insight that started to happen through this ongoing strengths-focused culture work that allowed them to see, okay, we are basically opposites in what talents we bring to bear and what things we have to do that suck the energy out of us versus pull us up and fuel us. So that group, just those two, they've worked together for years. They sort of knew that about each other, but they had a little bit of headbutting going on. Not necessarily outwardly, it wasn't dysfunctional, it just didn't feel smooth. And it was this conversation that allowed them to have the discussion about, well, I approach the world differently. We'll use you for the high influence. We'll use you for the deep thinking and the analytics. They go about the world differently. They relate to people differently. They make decisions differently. And so this process is what allowed them to say, okay, instead of being adversaries, instead of being frustrated by each other, we could actually be really great partners together because our diversity of thought is so great. We can bring a completely different perspective to business problems. And so that's just one small example, one small outcome that happens when a manager who is a people manager and is thinking about not just getting the work done, but getting the work done through people on the team, can individualize his or her style based on her own talents or his own talents and the talents of each person on the team. This conversation and this focus really brings significant business results, deeper conversations that weren't happening in the past, the ability for you to up-level your team so that you're getting the most out of your talent. I mean, I'll finish this by talking about a mantra I hear all the time from business leaders, which is grow or die, grow or die, grow or die. Okay, that's great. And I suggest that you focus on your team in that way. Grow them or die. Develop them or die, because they're the ones who execute on that growth. And if you are not tapping into their innate potential, you're missing out on a lot of business growth that could be there. So when I talk to people about doing StrengthsFinder as a team builder, great. The potential for results is excellent, and a lot of it is in your hands after. And one way to really amp up the likelihood that it sticks is to do a session with managers so that you can really focus on how you personally lead through your talents and how you can use it so that each individual can be sharp on the team, and the well-roundedness happens when you look at you as a group and how to apply your StrengthsFinder talents to your whole team as one high potential functioning element.